Alright, mail call. And I'm still defrosting from outside because it's like literally -3 Fahrenheit out there. Quite cold. But I did decide that I was interested in picking this up when I saw that it was delivered. This is SixLeaf, as you can see. Yes, if you're not familiar with the brand, I've been picking up a few of them. Most of them, I suppose, at this point. They're all designed by Rattlesnake. He has done some other designs for Tucson and I think some others here. As you can see, this one is G10 and some carbon fiber onlay. Yep, just that stuff for looks, but obviously doesn't really help with weight or anything like that. And oh, this is a front flipper. Hell, I didn't even know that when I ordered it. Alright. We also have that hole, but I can't get my finger in there, so. Yeah, it flicks open pretty decently. It's got some chunky looking design to it. It's, as near as makes no difference, a straight back knife, not a drop point or anything of the sort there. And like most of his other stuff, it's in D2. Yeah, you can see his maker's mark there. Got their standard folded over deep carry clip, same type that Tucson ends up using on a lot of their newer models. No lefty love on it, but it looks like it is at least channeled into that carbon fiber thing there. And believe it or not, even though this thing has some crazy angular kind of feels going on there, my fingers down here are pretty happy. You know, this thing works out pretty well as a standard thing for your index finger with abilities to grip it that way or fully tight. And the rest of it just kind of follows along behind it. Something that I'm noticing I really don't like is generally the pointy ends or the butt ends of a knife. The top part there always seems to just dig into my hands. I suppose if you had a little bit more normal sized hands, your grip might be here so you're not way out at the back. And at that point, that's fine. But yeah, for me, this just creates an immense hot spot right here. We have the jimping up on top here. It's interesting, and it's placed correctly for a very relaxed saber grip there. But if I am, gripping this more like a hammer grip or otherwise, my thumb ends up going way up higher, which I kind of wish that there was jimping that reached further out there. Oh well, that's just kind of my personal preference here. We got plenty of lock bar access and a whole bunch of little tiny scallops going on here. Yep, this is just straight out the box. It is thawed out a little bit though. This has probably been sitting on my counter for 15 minutes, so at least the oil isn't seized that's in here. But yeah, I can probably get that action quite a bit better. That being said, I am seeing at the top here that we do have a black coating, which means it's going to be on the tang part of the blade that the liner bearing rides on. So for a lot of coatings, that doesn't bode well for having it be the most awesome drop shut action. Well, I suppose that's fine. It really depends on the price that you end up finding these for. This one I won from an eBay auction, so I got it for, I want to say 32 to 35 bucks, I think. But if I do remember right, this thing does, retail. Like you can find them on probably AliExpress, and Amazon has a seller for them. And I think some buy it now stuff on eBay, and these things are supposedly going for 50 bucks, which I probably wouldn't spend, which is why I was putting in some bids and immediately backed out when they started to get up to that kind of price, for the first few of them that I saw at least. This is, for all intents and purposes, a G10 and D2 flipper. And without anything spectacular going on, you know, I do really kind of feel that a knife like this should probably be in that $28 to $40 range, but I probably wouldn't want to spend a whole lot more than that on these guys. It's not a small knife, as you can tell. I should probably do some measurements and things like that, since I haven't done anything beforehand, because I'm just opening it up and witnessing it along with y'all. Let's see. Hey, we have basically like a 3.1, 3.15, no, yeah, 3.1 millimeter blade stock, so a little bit thinner than definitely some other SixLeaf knives that have had pretty thick blade stocks. 3.8 to 4 millimeters, I do believe. So that's pretty good. Seems like the handle's fairly thick on this. Yeah, 0.64 of an inch. That's fairly thick compared to something like the PM2, which is 0.50, or just a skosh over it. Oh, let's see. What do we got for blade length between here and the tip? I have 3.7 inches, just a touch over. So, yes, not a small knife. The blade shape doesn't really seem to bother me, though. I mean, it is a straight back, and I'm a little bit more used to a drop point. But other than that, you still have a lot of really useful blade going on here. The grind on it's about average. It's not a crazy laser beam, but it's not egregiously thick either. So they did a decent job there for probably this more, you know, all-purpose, including some harder use sort of scenarios going on there. This whole area back here with that part that I was talking about that really bothered me in the hands and the lanyard thing, I personally think it's hideous, but you know, maybe you have a little bit different ideas on that. But because of how egregious this thing is on my palm, and with the pocket clip much lower, even though it's a deep carry clip, it's not bothering me, because that's bothering me a heck of a lot more. So there's definitely that going on for it. So yeah, let's see. I can end up doing some size comparisons here, since I have some knives laying around, like the Spyderco PM2, which, I mean, overall, the dimensions are fairly similar. The blade's a little bit shorter on this, and obviously the cutting edge is a little bit less due to the finger choil there. Here's a Benchmade 940. Yep, much smaller. And this is a larger knife, so yeah, rat number 1 from Ontario. And yep, we got about the same blade length going on there between the two of these. But this one does have the flat area here, so a little bit less there, but pretty similar in a lot of the dimensions to this rat number 1. Let's see. Something else I haven't done for a little bit is actually break out the best tester. Here's my little cutting media. Kind of curious on how this is going on. It looks like I got plenty of visibility over here. No, don't tear. Oops. Oh well. So let's see what kind of sharpness we got going on. Not looking good. 270. Ain't bad. But it's far from the sharpest thing I've ever pulled out of a box. Got myself some phone book paper here. And yeah, it'll slice through it. I do feel a little bit of jaggies out kind of around this belly area. I feel it when I'm cutting through this thin of a paper, But, you know, I can't really see any rolls or anything like that. Maybe just a little tiny bit of a reflection that I don't think I could probably get on camera. But something that you could probably easily be taken care of with a strop. Not something that requires any sharpening out of the box. It is to say, I'm probably going to end up sharpening this like I do all my other knives because, well, it gives me something to do with my hands. And, yeah, it also gives me a little bit more time with the blade shape and the handle and everything like that while I'm going through the sharpening process on there. And I also like a nice kind of polished up 17-degree edge on my D2. But yeah, it's an interesting kind of knife. I do like that the blade stock thickness is a little thinner on there compared to some of the other large SixLeaf knives that have been out so far. So that's pretty good for it. And the handle, outside of, you know, what I'm saying, this whole triangular flat butt kind of situation on the back, is surprisingly good at the bottom fingers here. It's just the palm doesn't really want to really mesh with it all that much. It is kind of interesting that they do raise up quite a bit before the carbon fiber laminate going on there. This does have bearings on the pivot. I honestly don't know what kind. I would assume ceramic, but it's probably for the best if I just go ahead and take a little peek under the covers. Well, the pocket clip doesn't want to come out. It's interesting. It seems to be wedged pretty tightly in there. It's not being held in by either of the screws. Which means, yeah, it was probably just wedged in pretty hard. I hope they didn't do anything like slap some adhesive behind it. But I suppose I can find that out as I continue to take this thing apart. Okay, so we have a Chicago-style screw here on this side. So I should probably be taking screws out on the other. Yeah, little black G10 backspacer, if I didn't cover that earlier in there. And let's see, what side? Yep, okay. So this one comes apart in a bit of a different fashion than I'm used to. Kind of built backwards from the usual ones. Blade is at least a little bit close up top here, but since we have a relatively thin blade stock, I can't really get myself in there. Knock, knock, I'm coming in. Alright, so, yes, we do have the standard ceramic, little silicon carbide, or silicon something or other, going on there for the pivots. Yeah. Interestingly, that they're, or interesting to me that they're using brass caged ones rather than nylon that they've used on most of their other designs here. And for whatever particular reason, that G10 is promulgated on the inside as well. That's probably not quite the word that I need to use, but it's the one that I'm going to use, and I do believe that most of y'all can probably follow along and understand what I'm saying there. But, okay, it doesn't look like that's the case on the lock side here. Oh, it kind of is. They just cut out the lock bar relief area. So, it does seem like they probably just manufactured the sheets of this. The the same and just had carbon fiber laminate on both sides, which I haven't seen up to this point, but it is there. I really want to get this pocket clip out. See if I can't add some leverage. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it was just really mashed in there. It doesn't look like there's any adhesive or anything like that. So, all right, cool. Well, yes. You can see we have the stop pin there. At least the hole for it. And we do have a decent amount of skeletonization. You know what I should have done before I disassembled all of this was probably check the weight on it. It's not light, but yeah, I will go ahead and do that. But that being said, outside of that, I've covered basically everything that I can think of for kind of a first impressions kind of thing here. So if that's basically what you were interested in, hey, I appreciate you all watching. And also, there's the weight on this will also be down on the information down in the description in case you're curious about that, but you don't really want to watch me put all this back together. But that's what I'm going to do right now, so we might as well get into that. And it does seem like I can probably put this back in about any way that I want. Just looking to see. No, we don't have a D-shaped pivot at all on this thing in particular. Okay. So that being said, if I'm going to put it back the way that I want to, then I will end up doing it the way that most of the rest of my knives are set up. And butt head. Alright, cool. We good. And because these Chicago screws here in the back don't interface with the pocket clip, they are both the same length, so I don't really have to worry about any of that sort of craziness messing me up along the way here. You know what? Well, I'm at it. Might as well go ahead and clean this up just a little tiny bit. See if I can't get the action just a little bit nicer. Oh, well, I guess that Q-tip is just going to remain in that bottle for a very long time. Let's just grab another one and try this again here. Clean up the stock of the pivot as well. And of course, the inside and the pivot of the blade here. Pivot, it does seem to be a little bit smaller, so it's probably more or less a 5mm rather than a 6mm pivot. Suppose that would also make sense, I guess, with the thinner blade stock here, but usually you will see a little bit more meat on the pivots on some lengthier knives. Max Chachuk doesn't really do that on a lot of his designs. A lot of his actually use 5 or 4mm pivots rather than 6, but he's a little bit more of an exception to a rule rather than the other way around. But okay, so yeah, I got my KPL Ultralight. Just toss a little bit around there. Get one of those and spin it around. Alright, I got the blade stop pin up here. At this point, I can drop that blade in place. And of course, give me just a little bit more there. And way too damn much over there. Whatever. As long as it's covered. At least getting the excess out of a lot of these different types of oils is pretty easy. And of course, we got the KPL Heavy, which I have these days. It's really thick, so it does take a bit for it to drip down into the applicator area. And I do like to put that for the detent area, just right by the detent hole. That way, once I get the liner in there and I open and close it a couple of times, it distributes everything that it needs. All right, buddy. So we're good in most places, but not with these guys here in the back. Let's see if I can't drive these in correctly. There we go. That's mostly just a fit and finish kind of thing going on there with these. That doesn't really bother me one way or the other, as long as it's not incredibly stubborn to get something back together. This one just wants to fight me a little bit here, but let's see what happens if I now throw that pivot on there and tighten it up. Will you catch? Feels like it. Okay, cool. At least we have T8 construction all the way around. I do appreciate that. T6 is just a little too fragile for a lot of machined pieces, in my opinion. Well, probably my opinion and a whole bunch of others. But I do understand that a lot of companies have a lot of T6 hardware, because that's been kind of the industry standard for a very long time. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for them to try to bump up to a T8 for at least existing models. Okay. Yeah, I definitely have the pivot too tight, but that's okay. Alright, yeah, so the action does get definitely better. It's still not a drop shut, but it's much more comfortable of a wiggle shut there. So, well, I'm glad I at least took care of that. But now that it's all back together, I should finally do the weight stuff on this little dude. Or maybe not so little dude, yeah. 5.15 ounces, or 146 grams. So, yeah, not a lightweight little piece of machinery there. Yeah, it's pretty interesting overall. I'm not sad that I have it in my collection, as, just someone who's a collector of some more of these budget type knives, and also a designer who had worked with Tucson, at least in the past. Obviously, some of his designs are still made there, but I don't think anything new, because it seems, because SixLeaf has only put out, there's 13 models now, as far as I'm aware, and all of them have been from him. It kind of seems like it's kind of his own offshoot kind of company there. It might have kind of some of those plans or something like that to kind of branch out a little bit in the future, like Tucson did, starting with Night Morning, and then slowly adding some more people on there. Not sure, but yeah, pretty interesting piece we got going on here. I don't really have a whole lot else. I'm just kind of rambling at this point. So I will go ahead and call it here. I'm going to have a little bit of fun trying to sharpen and polish up this edge. But otherwise, yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate y'all for watching. And as always, have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo.